Hi everyone! Have you ever wished for a personal assistant to handle all those repetitive tasks that take up your time? Like sending reminders, saving email attachments, or even organizing your to-do list? Well, let me introduce you to Power Automate, your very own robot helper that works behind the scenes to make your life easier. Here is how it works. If you tend to forget tasks, Power Automate can send you reminders. If your inbox is overflowing with emails, it can save attachments for you automatically. And if you need approvals, it can ask people for their yes or no. No chasing required. The best part, you don't need to be a tech wizard to use it. It's all about click, drag, and drop. Easy enough for anyone to learn. Now, today's tutorial will focus on one powerful example, creating a weekly task summary. This will automate the process of pulling your task from an Excel file, formatting them into a neat readable table, and sending the summary straight to your inbox. Imagine how easier it would be to stay on top of your to-do list each week. We will go step by step, keeping it simple and relatable. And don't worry, I've prepared a practice file for you to follow along. So be sure to check the description for the download link. Let's dive in and start automating. Before we dive into building automations, let's set up Power Automate and take a quick look at the types of flows you can create. Here's how to get started. Open Microsoft 365 on your computer or visit powerautomate.microsoft.com. Sign in with your Microsoft account. Once you're inside, you'll see this dashboard, a toolbox filled with all the tools you need to create automated workflows, or what Power Automate calls flows. Now let's talk about the 5 main types of flows. Each one is designed for a specific purpose, so you will always have the right tool for the job. The automated cloud flows. This flow starts automatically when something specific happens. It's like having a watchdog that reacts to events, such as receiving an email or updating a file. When do you use it? You use it when sending reminders for overdue tasks, automatically saving emails attachments, or notifying team members when new items are added to a list. The instant cloud flow. These flows are manually triggered. Imagine having a button you can press to get something done instantly, like generating an invoice or sending a report. So you can use this when generating custom reports on demand, sending manual approvals, or sharing files with a click, and running tasks that are not tied to a schedule or trigger. Scheduled cloud flow. These flows run on a set schedule. Think of it as setting an alarm clock for your automation. It can be used when sending weekly or daily reports, backing up files at the end of the day, or archiving old data regularly. The desktop flow. These flows automate tasks directly on your computer. It's like a robot mimicking your mouse clicks and keystrokes. It's perfect for working with systems that don't integrate with the cloud. So when do you use it? You use it to automate repetitive data entry tasks, interacting with systems that don't support cloud integration, and performing complex operations across multiple hubs or platforms. And lastly, we have the process mining with Power Automate Process Advisor. What is this? Think of this as the detective in your toolkit. It analyzes your workflows to identify bottlenecks and inefficiencies, helping you streamline processes. So you can use it when identifying repetitive or time-consuming steps, for planning automation projects based on real data, or for improving existing flows for maximum efficiency. Now let's build something cool. With your toolkit ready, it's time to get hands-on. Let's start with a flow that sends you a weekly email summarizing your task. This is perfect for keeping track of what's ahead and staying organized. Let's take a closer look at the Excel file we will use. This file contains columns like task for the name of the task, due date to specify the task deadline, progress to track the percentage of completion, priority to choose between high, medium, or low to indicate urgency, and status to select either pending task or completed task. I've prefilled this sheet for you in the practice file, which you can download from the description below. Make sure to have it open so you can follow along as we walk through this tutorial. For Power Automate to work, your Excel file must be saved in OneDrive for Business or SharePoint. This is because Power Automate integrates seamlessly with cloud storage to access files in real time. If your files isn't already saved in OneDrive, follow these steps. Have your file saved locally on your computer. Open your OneDrive folder and have the file uploaded to any folder of your choice. So why is this important? Without storing the file in OneDrive, Power Automate won't be able to connect to it and the flow won't work. Now let's ensure the data is set up correctly. We need to make sure the data is in table format. Power Automate recognizes data structured as a table. So open the file. Have the data highlighted including the headers. Under the Home tab, select Format as Table. Select any style you like and make sure the checkbox My Table as Headers is selected. Then click OK. You will now see a color-coded table around your data, meaning it's ready for Power Automate to access. Why is this step crucial? Tables allow Power Automate to dynamically fetch rows for processing. Now, we will set up a flow to automatically send emails every Monday morning. So open Power Automate and click on the Create button. For this flow, we're going to use Scheduled Cloud Flow. So select that and give your flow the name Weekly Task Email. We want it to run every Monday morning at 8 a.m. So let's have it scheduled for that. The starting date is when you want the flow to commence. I'm going to set the time to 8 a.m. and we want it repeated once, but not every minute. So I'm going to have this changed to week. This flow should run only on Mondays. So uncheck the other days and leave just Monday selected. And as you can see below, the flow will run on Monday every week. So click on the Create button and we have the recurrence action created. If you click on that, you see that we have the same setup as we had earlier. We want it to run once every week on Monday morning at 8 a.m. So why is this important? Setting this schedule ensures the email goes out at the start of each week without manual intervention. Next, we will connect the flow to our Excel file so Power Automate can access the task. So add a new step by clicking on the plus button, add an action, and search for list rows present in a table. This is under the category Excel Online for Business. So select that, and we're going to have it configured on the left here. For the location, choose OneDrive or SharePoint, depending on where your file is stored. Mine is stored in OneDrive for Business, so I'm going to select that. For the document library, you select the folder where your file is located. It's OneDrive, so select that. Select your file in the File field and choose the table containing your task data. This is the point where you see the importance of having your data structured as a table. If it's not structured as a table, you will not have any option to select here. So select Table 1, which is the table containing your task. So this step allows Power Automate to read all rows in your table dynamically. To ensure only pending tasks are included in the email, we're going to add a filter array action. So click the plus button again, add an action, and search for filter array. Here's how we'll set it up. For the From field, click on the dynamic icon and select the value from the previous step. Our previous step is list rows present in a table. We want to get the data from this table and have it filtered. So we're going to select the output from the step. Now the condition. For the left operand, click on the dynamic icon again and select the status column. That's the column we want to filter. The operator should be equal to, and for the right operand, type pending. So this filtering ensures that completed tasks are excluded, keeping your email concise and actionable. Now we're going to format the task into a professional looking table using a variable action. So click on the plus button to add another action. Search for initialize variable. It's under the variable group. Let's set it up. For the name field, type task list. The type will be string, so select that. And leave the value field blank. This variable will act as a blank canvas to hold the formatted task data. To loop through each task, we're going to need an apply to each task action. So click on the plus button, add an action, and search for apply to each. It's under the control group, so select that. In the output field, click on the dynamic icon and select body from the filter array step. We need this action to process each task individually. Now we need to compose a role for each task. So inside this loop, we're going to add a compose action. So click on the plus button inside the loop, not outside, the one inside, add an action and search for compose. For this, we're going to be using a formula. So instead of the dynamic icon, click on the expression icon. And I'm going to have this code pasted. Breaking this down, this creates a new role. And the TD creates a cell for data within the role. This retrieves the task name. This formats the due date in a readable format. This adds the progress percentage. And finally, this adds priority, that is high, medium, or low. So click on the add button to have the code added to the compose action. Now, you will notice for this action, we selected the expression icon and not the dynamic one. Why use expressions? Expressions let us dynamically format data with functions like concatenate, if, and equals. So for each time you want to have your data formatted using formulas, you click on the expression icon. Now, after the compose action, still inside the loop, we need to add an append to string variable action. So I'm going to click on the plus button below the compose action, but inside the loop, add an action, and search for append to string variable. It's also under the variable group, so select that and set it up to select task list as the name. I misspelled task in the earlier action, so bear with me please. And for the value, we're going to use the same formula we used in the compose action. So select the expression icon and paste in the same formula. Click on the add button to have it added to the action. So why do we need this? Appending adds each formatted row to the task list variable. It helps us to build a complete table. Now we need an action to send the email. We're going to add a send an email version 2 action. So click on the plus button outside the loop, add an action, and search for send an email v2. Configure it to have your email address in the top field or the email address of any member of your team that you want to send the summary to. For the subject, I would type weekly task summary. And for the body of the email, we're going to use the HTML code. So select this button to have the code view toggled to HTML, and I'll have this code pasted here. So why use HTML? Using HTML ensures your email has a professional table format. Now that the flow is complete, let's trigger it manually to test it and see if everything works as expected. So before doing that, I'll save the flow and then click on the test button to trigger it manually. We want to run it manually, so have that selected and click on the test button. Run the flow. Done. I've just received an email. So let's go to Outlook to see what the email looks like. There seems to be a problem here. This is the email we just received. As you can see, the rows that were supposed to be inside the table are appearing outside the table structure. This happens because of the way Power Automate handles dynamic content and HTML in email bodies. Even though we appended the rows dynamically to the task list variable, Power Automate is treating this dynamic content as plain text. Now, to fix this issue, we need to take a slightly different approach. We will create a new compose action to dynamically construct the entire table, including the headers and the rows, before the send an email v2 action. So let's add a compose action just before the send an email action. And I'm going to have a code pasted in the expression section. Let's break down this code so you understand exactly what it does. The concatenate function combines multiple pieces of text into a single string. It allows us to dynamically build the entire table as one HTML block. Now the headers, represented by the T-head tag. The T-head section defines the table headers. Here we specify columns for task, due date, progress, and priority. Now the dynamic rows, that is the task list, represented by the T-body tag. The T-body section includes the rows we appended to the task list variable dynamically. This ensures that each task row gets inserted correctly inside the table body. And finally, we close the T-body and the table tag to make sure the structure is complete. So I'm going to click on the Add button to have that added to the compose action. Now we will update the send an email action to use the output of this compose action for the email body. So I'm going to have this code removed and click on the dynamic icon to select the output of the new compose action. The new compose action we created is compose 1. So I'm going to select the output of that action. Let's test the flow again to see if it fixes the issue. So click on the save button to have your action saved, and click on the test button to have it triggered manually one more time. Done. I'm going to open the email I just received as a result of the trigger. And as you can see, the issue is resolved. The rows now appear correctly inside the table with all the data formatted as expected. So, by dynamically constructing the entire table in a new compose action, we ensured the task list variable is treated as part of the HTML structure, not as plain text. Before we wrap up, let me quickly show you how you can adjust and customize the codes we've used in this tutorial to suit your own needs. This approach ensures you're not limited to this specific scenario. Let's begin by modifying the format of the table itself. This involves changing the styling of the table to suit your preferences. So we're going to update this compose action used to construct the full HTML table. Now, if you look at this part of the code, the formatting options we have here has to do with just the border and the size of the column. So I'm going to have that replaced with this new code. So we now have options for the font family, the background color, and text alignment. This adds border around the table cells. Font family sets the font style to Arial. The background color adds a lightly gray background to the table. The border color changes the border color to a corporate blue. And text align aligns text to the center of the cells. So to have this code updated, you click the update button. Let's save that and test to see the result. This is the result we now have. So the table has a gray background color, the text are aligned center, the font family Arial has been used, and the border color has been changed to a corporate blue. Next, let's add new columns to our table, such as assigned to and description. This requires modifying both the table headers and the rows. So we are again going to update the compose action to include additional TH elements in the T-head section. So this is the T-head section. We currently have the columns task, due date, progress, and priority. We want to have this updated to include 2 additional columns, one for description and the other for assigned to. So let's have this part of the code replaced with this new one. The TH assigned to adds a column to display who is responsible for the task, and the TH description adds a column to show details about the task. Now click the update button. After adjusting the headers, we need to modify the rows to include data for the new columns. This involves updating the append to string variable action inside the apply to each loop. So select that and click on this expression to have it updated. Currently, the code is only dynamically pulling data from the task field, the due date field, the progress, and priority. We need to have this updated to also pull data dynamically from the assigned to and description field of the data. So I'm going to have this entire code replaced with this new one, which now includes the code to have the data for assigned tool field and description pulled dynamically from our dataset. So click on the update button to have that updated. Save that action and trigger it manually to see if it's as expected. And this is what we have. Of course, we don't have any details here because we haven't updated our actual data set. But you can see that we have new columns added just as we expected. And that's it. We're done. And there you have it. I've included all the codes we used in this tutorial along with the practice file in the description below. Feel free to experiment and make it your own. If you found this tutorial helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below with your own Power Automate challenges. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.